Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we are doing... I know, it's not Halo.
No, come on, you're not an intellectual, you're a fake and a fraud!
I can do other things sometimes. We'll still mainly do Halo things, but every now and then I like to go off the beaten path and just do something personal. So it's a personal project I did, and I just happened to film it, and you get free content. So what's the problem? So anyway, let's just get into the build. So first things first, you need to get my templates from my website. So download them and cut them out. Then we'll trace them onto the foam. We flip both sides left and right, and then you've got the whole template. You also got the mouthpiece, what is split into two parts. So just draw one half and flip it over and make sure it's lined up. We're just going to use a very sharp blade and carefully cut it like so, and just put them to the side once you've cut that. And we do the mouthpiece. When I did the mouthpiece, I changed my blade so it's nice and sharp. Always keep it nice and sharp, it's always best to work with a sharp blade. And once we've got that, we're just going to bend it to shape a little bit and just leave it to the side. Then we're just going to blast it with the heat gun just so we can get a nice little basic shape of the sphere. And we're going to use our glass paperweight ball. So I use like a thing to bend my foam with. You don't really need one, but it helps, so just going to bend it to shape just to get it started. Then we're just going to put all the seams with contact cement and just wait 5 minutes and give it a nice waiting time for it to dry on both sides before we put it together, because we need this to be really structurally sound. So just make sure you move the flaps around so they don't get stuck to each other before you finish. So we're just going to carefully and slowly push the two sides together, and because of the way it's cut, it will naturally want to make that sphere shape. Use your thumbs to push and pull it towards each other. And we're going to do, once that's dried for a little bit, we're just going to do the other side and put the two halves together. So we are going to go to edge and slowly kind of push and pull, if that makes sense. The foam will force itself in that position due to the way it's curved. So just take your time, make sure it's nice and flat. Use your thumbs to push it towards the centre. Moving on, we're just going to do the mouthpiece, and we're just going to go seam to seam like before. Like so. Just push it together. Just bend it to shape a little bit. And make sure you line up the seam with the seam of the mask. So we're just going to line up the mouth towards the centre. So where the centre line is there, we're going to put it there. And then we're going to use our smaller knife just to kind of cut around the sides to make a perfect hole. We'll be gluing the mouthpiece inside the hole, so don't have to worry about it being too perfect as long as it's a circle, because we're going to use a Dremel to smooth out a little bit. And then we're going to use some foam clay a little bit later in the video just to smooth the seam out. Like so. Now, like I said before, we're going to use our Dremel to just smooth it out a little bit, just to make it round, just so it's a lot easier for it to glue in. Then use our handy contact cement to slather it all on, make sure we've got lots of it because this is going to be permanent. Put a nice thick coat on the mouthpiece, as we are going to be pushing it in a little bit, and force it into the hole and force the shape a little bit. And wait as usual. Now we're going to line up the seam, the centre seam, from the bottom, and we're going to start from the bottom and kind of just push it onto the table and kind of force it into place. It may be a bit tricky, but you can do it. You know, you may have to pull and, you know, take it off sometimes and put it back on, but it's fine. The contact cement is pretty durable, and once it's in there it should be nice and secure. So you want to be a little bit rough with it, it's fine, it's good. Now we're going to use the smaller circle from the template and cut it out and stick it in the mouthpiece. Don't worry about the seams around the edge because there will be a larger piece going on top of it, so it'll cover it. Just make sure it's nice and secure and keeps the shape. Now we're going to trace it onto the larger circle on 5mm foam. And just get a pen, place it around and trace it, and you should get an accurate shape. Make sure you get the lines in from the seam as well. So just use our pinky and our finger just to get a nice like rough area radius of it. And we're just going to go around slowly with the pen, just get a rough shape. This is going to be an organic tree-like stump piece, so it's not going to be perfectly round, so it's alright, it's fine. And then once we get the rough shape, we are going to take it back about an inch. Then we're just going to freehand and roughly draw it, just give that like natural effect. And then we're going to do a 45-degree angle cut on the edge. Just take it nice and slow with this one because it can be dangerous. Just take your time. And there we go. It's on top of the mask. And make sure the lines are lined up from the top and the bottom for the seam. And we're just going to roughly get just an outline of it, so when we do put the contact cement glue on it, we don't go over the line. Just going to do a little bit of freehand work and do a rough circle. We want to make it look like it's being hand carved out of the stump, if that makes sense. So just make it rough and natural. It doesn't matter too much because you'll be going over a knife, so you can direct it how you want. We're going to add some little triangles in there, just give that kind of artistic effect. And we're just going to slowly cut it out. Just pop it out. Now use a smaller knife just to get the little triangles out, and we're going to do some like score lines all around the inner circle, just give that rough cut effect. Then we're going to score the outer rim to make some artificial wood grain lines. Now we're just going to get our eye template and we're just going to trace around the template. And we're just going to simply cut it out. We'll be using the same techniques for the mouthpiece, so make sure you rough up the edges and score them. Going to clean off the edges with a Dremel just for the mouthpiece so it's nice and lined up and smooth. Using our large Dremel bit, we are going to kind of like hammer the mask and give it like a Deku nut effect. So looking at some chestnuts, it's kind of got like a dented texture. So I've added it onto this mask. So you're going to turn it onto a low setting and just kind of hit it in 4 different directions. Make sure you turn it around so you can make it look as natural as possible. Otherwise it'll give it like an artificial effect if it's all the same direction. Don't be afraid to go a little bit crazy at this point as well. Yes, we're doing the whole entire mask. As soon as you've done the whole entire mask with this texture, it'll kind of even itself out. You can also go over with like a sanding sponge just to smooth it out a bit. So I've done it on the whole entire mask, and now I'm going to use the edge, a natural effect, which can make some chips and some corners and some dents, and just kind of make it a little bit wavy and wobbly. I'm going to get a Sharpie, draw a wood grain effect. So I just got a picture of a wood grain and just copied it onto the mask with my Sharpie. Then going to use a Dremel, we'll use a smaller Dremel drum bit, and we're just going to score the drawn lines. You don't have to follow them completely, just use them as a rough guide and kind of go all around the mask and keep it in the same direction so it lines up the seams so you can hide it very well. So after that, we're just going to use our hot air gun just to seal in all those details. Make sure it's all sealed all the way around so we can prepare this later for painting. So now we're going to start on the leaves off the top of the mask. I'm using some gardening wire to make like a stem-like structure in the middle. So we're just going to get our cardboard template and we're just going to cut these to a rough size. Then going to trace the leaf pattern. We'll have 3 leaf patterns and they're all different. I'm just going to show you one of them. And we're just going to put some glue on both sides. We're now going to sandwich the stem in between the 2 pieces of foam. Make sure you just have a little bit of glue on the stem itself just so it doesn't slide out. And make sure you make that stem stick out. Just rub it down a little bit. And then draw the leaf back on top. Then score it a little bit so you've got a nice little direction of the leaves to give it that leaf effect. Don't cut too deep, but if you do, don't worry about it. Then add little, little triangles like a caterpillar's been at it. Get a kind of like cartoony effect. Zelda's always has this nice stylized effect I like. And I've got these very special scissors, what kind of give like they used for cardboard to do like edging and card making stuff, and I decided to experiment here and they make really good edging for like leaves and stuff. I'm going to go really heavy on the heat air gun. Just be careful because you are using hot air on metal, so it can come really hot. So yeah, nice and hot to give it kind of like crimply effect and gives it kind of bubbles it up a little bit, kind of gives it a bit more texture and a bit more flair. And once you've done all 3 of the leaves, you can now place them into the mask. I put some small holes in the mask and just kind of force them through it. And I just took my time with this, as you don't want to be too rough considering how much time you put into it at this point of the video. You can pop them in and bend them around the back. You may notice they may be a little bit too long, but that's okay, you can just trim them down with your wire cutters. You then use 3 of the templates for the eyes and use one of them for the top of the wires to protect it. And with the eyes, just do exactly the same process you do with the mask technique and just copy it onto the eyes and stick on the back. I then use some EVA foam clay just to put in around the edge of the mouthpiece to the mask. I use water to help it stick, and I just use some simple sculpting tools just to blend it in. You don't need anything fancy, you can use the back end of a brush just to sort out the little textures, like so. Just make sure it follows along the same textures as the wood grooves and it should blend in nicely. So on to the fun part now. So we're going to use Flexi Paint. What's an excellent paint for this kind of stuff. So we're going to use it as a primer. So we're going to put it on the mask and put it on the leaves. Just spread it all around and do a couple coats of Flexi Paint. After that, we are going to mix our own. So Flexi Paint, you can, for example, if you've got white Flexi Paint and you mix your brown into it, you've now got a brown Flexi Paint, what is a brilliant addition. So that's what we've done here. So we've mixed those 2 together to make our own Flexi Paint. We also did a green base coat as well. So we just want to get the basic colours as a flat base. It doesn't have to be neat, as long as you can use it to overlay the detail paint. So after all that, we did about 3 even coats. It took a couple of days, and now we're just using white on the eyes just to bring it out, because we're going to do that awesome like glowing mystic effect and make the eyes really sad. We also used a base coat of light brown, kind of like a sandy colour, stumping them out. And then we're going to go over it with a nice wash. So we're going to use a heavy black wash. So I used actually Flexi Paint to do the wash. I just mixed it with water. I just kind of slopped it all on there, and then we're going to get a rag or tissue paper and wipe it off. We want the black to stay in the lines, the tree stump lines and the tree engravings, and even the dents, we want it to stick in there. So just going to do it around the edges and give it a bit more depth as well. Just peel over, wipe off, wipe on, it's going to be fantastic. So we're just going to get our brown and add a little bit of white just to lighten up a little bit, and we're just going to dry brush it on top. By doing this will help highlight the edges with a brighter colour to contrast the dark. Once that's done, we can use the eye yellow, and we're just going to do it on the eyes. So just going to spread it on the eyes around, then afterwards we're going to make our own orange. So get a bit of red and a bit of yellow and mix them in. Don't mix them fully because we're going to use a different contrast of the colours. So after you put the yellow base on, we're just going to go over with the orange and just kind of dab it on the edges. We want to make it look like it's blended. We want to give it a nice glowing effect. So by doing that, you've got to use the colours and just kind of use your sponge to blend in the colours together. So you've got a bright red on the bottom, a yellow in the middle, and an orange around the edge. And if you put too much orange like I did, you can also go back over it. So we're going to give it like a airbrush effect without the airbrush, if that makes sense. So once you've got that, you've got these awesome glowy eyes. Do the same effect with the leaves. So we're going to start off with a darkish green and just kind of put little bits of yellow in it, each layer. So we're going to work from the center and brush out like so. Kind of keep it with the natural direction of the leaf stems and the directions of the little lines on the side. So it's going to get brighter and brighter and just kind of make a nice little contrast between the middle and the edge. Lighten it again, so it's going to keep getting lighter and lighter. And with the center stem, I'm using a really bright greenish yellow. And for the base of the leaves, I'm just kind of blending it in, just give it a bit of like depth. And we're also going to use it on the edge to create a highlighting effect, especially on the chopped leaves. And once you have that, you will have a nice, excellent finished prop of the Legend of Zelda Deku mask from Majora's mask. That was hard to say. And once you finish all that, just give it a quick gloss coat and it should be finished.
You have a completed mask like this. The only thing I did off camera was I added some black around the eyes just to give it a bit more depth, but apart from that, it's all good. So anyway, please give me a like, subscribe and comment below what you want me to make next, because I am running out of ideas. There's only so much Halo you can do. But anyway, I'll see you soon.